Good evening indeed. Hey everyone, welcome to Sinister Sunday if you're watching it live. If you're listening on the podcast feed, that will be a Morbid Monday. But hey, how are you doing? Welcome to what should be a very special show in that I'm not wearing pants. And a lot of people ask, well, do you ever wear pants when you record? Sometimes I do. Not today. Anyway, this is actually a lot of fun. I've had quite a day. We did the Duncan Bow Come Correct this morning. So this is the second time I've streamed live in the same day, which is probably something that is going to happen periodically. And also, after I did that, I went over to my lady's house and we worked on the Halloween decorations there, which are coming along, folks. Let me tell you, you will eventually get some video of this. But we set up a whole little cemetery in the yard with our chicken wire ghosts, and once it gets dark, we should see how all that looks. And I'm very excited. We did some good work today, the Lord's work, you might say. So thanks for joining me. Also, it is, as Alan pointed out in the chat, thank you very much. It is my birthday today. So thanks very much for joining me on my birthday. That means a lot. And it should be a good time. We should, I don't have a ton on the books. I've got a handful of news, cause mostly it was a slow news week horror wise. And I got a handful of movies to talk about that are coming to streaming, but not a ton. So this might be a little bit short, but that kind of depends on you. If you got questions and comments, throw them in the chat. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then you can't do that. You screwed up. You failed miserably. No. Thanks for listening. Thanks for Ant-Man for the happy birthdays as well. And I love decorating for Halloween, he says. I just want to buy and create more and more. Yeah, so here's what we've done so far. Here's our craft projects. Is we've got we've got a little cemetery area to one side of the house that is some old like styrofoam headstones. Where we haven't done it yet, but she's going to get some mulch to make it look like freshly dug graves. We've also put in that area, we got some chicken wire and basically used it to sculpt body shapes, people's. And the idea and what we've seen at least is that now that they're up and they're kind of in that graveyard area, at night, they kind of disappear until light hits them. And then when light hits them, and it's all of a sudden you can see something there. And so we've got that all put together. We've also got some kind of low blue tinted lights to illuminate them if we're going to give that a shot. So that is that's happening. Then we've got in both of the upstairs windows, or two of the upstairs windows, I should say. In two of the upstairs windows, there are rear projections. One is kind of a creepy ghost girl. The other is some zombies. So that's going on. And then day of, we will also be shooting a projector at these heads right here on the counter. We'll have a projector aimed at them, shooting the haunted mansion faces, like the singing ghost, the grinning ghost thing. So all of that is on the plate. I haven't taken the heads over yet because that's going to be a day of thing. And I'm working on some like a way to get a low mist to hang out in that cemetery area. That is more challenging than it sounds, but I've got some glycerine for my fog juice, and I've got an idea, and I just need to see if I can make it work. So at any rate, so thanks again for all the wishes. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Dan. But yeah, so this is fun. This is what I want to do today. Is I got to do, fun Halloween craft projects with the woman that I care about, and then I get to come talk to you guys, and what more could I ask for? I'm living the dream. So it's been great. And also, if you haven't seen it, I threw it up in the Facebook group. And Facebook, nothing but a total good these days. Nothing controversial about that. In the Facebook group, there is some pictures of the birthday cake she got me, which was a coconut cake with Pennywise's face on it, and the cook threw some blood splatter on there, which turned out real good. And also put a little dye in the cake itself, so you cut into that guy, and it's red inside as well. Looked great. It was really great. And the woman who did the cake put it on, posted it to social media as well, and immediately had 2 or 3 more people wanting the same thing. So it was terrific, and it was delicious, by the way. It still is. I haven't taken that whole thing down yet. That might happen tonight. I might finish that off tonight. But there have been 3 other people besides myself who have taken a cut out of that thing. So, but it was delicious. So that's going on. That happened today. That's been a lot of fun. What other news? Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, that cake was awesome. I was blown away by it. And let me tell you what else she got me for my birthday, and then I'll shut up about it. Is she got me a blanket that has a bunch of images of different horror icons, your Michael Myers and Freddy Kruegers and Leatherfaces and Chucky's and aliens and whatnot. And on it is written, Bo's Horror Movie Watching Blanket is what it says. And I couldn't have been happier with that. That girl is all right. So, enough bragging about my gifts and my wonderful lady. But that was a lot of fun. So let's do a little house cleaning here. So the first Morbid Monday has dropped along with the first episode about Psycho, which again, I thought that was a great conversation. I hope you listened to it. I hope you enjoyed it. I thought it was informative. I learned stuff about the movie Psycho on that. The one thing that I don't want Dark Parade to be is just it was sort of a rehash of the movie, and then it was really good. So I really think that and Jerry is who saved me for all of that, because he knows a lot about Hitchcock. He knows a lot about the Psycho films, and it was a tremendous amount of fun. We're going to do the Psycho 2 episode. That should be, barring anything unforeseen, that'll be hitting the feed on Wednesday, and I think that will also be a great conversation. Very different conversation, but a great one as well. And so all that's happening. Also look forward to this coming week, in addition to the Psycho 2 episode that you'll be getting on Wednesday. You should be getting the first episode of Heart of Horror, which is myself and Kate Pollock talking about After Midnight, and trust me, you are not going to want to miss that. And then a new bonus episode. Like I said, this is just random shit. These are not regularly scheduled things, but there is definitely going to be a recurring series called Found Footage Fool, me being the fool. And the first one of those is recorded. That will be dropping over the next week as well. And that is my attempt to try to make sense of my strange love for found footage movies. And I have developed a set of criteria to judge the relative success of a found footage movie on. And I'm going to apply that criteria. Well, I turned British. I'm going to apply that criteria to as many found footage films as I can. So that's what's coming in the next week or so. So, again, please be sure you are subscribed to The Dark Parade. As best I can tell, it is now available everywhere that I've checked. So if you cannot find it on the podcatcher of your choice, let me know and I'll look into that. But again, I would ask you, humbly ask you, please share that around, subscribe to it, tell other people to subscribe to it, that kind of thing. Because like I said, it's the first time in a while that I've tried to get something off the ground from, from nothing. but I'm really proud of it. It gives me an outlet to do a lot of dumb shit. So that's exciting. Jason, thank you very much. You're going to be so pleased, I think, here in a minute when we get to the news. And I knew who it was when I saw Phoenix, so I'm learning. I can be taught. So Derek says, this video is the winter beast of YouTube videos. If only. There is very slim chance of a chicken monster making an appearance, but not entirely impossible. I don't rule anything out. I'm a believer that, with an infinite amount of time and an infinite number of YouTube videos, that a room full of monkeys can produce a chicken monster. That's a great movie. I'm glad you finally saw it. It blows my mind. Duncan and I were talking about that this morning, that it kind of blew our mind that you hadn't seen that. So, Winter Beast, for the win. Dan says, really enjoyed the Psycho discussion. I learned a ton from you both. Thanks. I learned a lot from him. I'm very, very pleased with how that discussion went. So, I'm looking forward to Psycho 2 a lot. Like I said, that's going to be a lot of fun. And I know it's a bird. Just give me a hard time now. Derek, saying found footage, you say, yeah, like I said, the first one of those is recorded. I've got another one yet to record, but ready to go. And yeah, those are going to be very short, like 15, 20 minutes maybe. But that one of the things I wanted to do with Dark Parade is give myself the flexibility to do something that was, 10, 15 minutes long and isn't a 2-hour discussion about a movie, even though there's going to be that too. So, And I should have known it from Phoenix because of, the X-Men. I should be smarter, and I'm not. Look, I've been nothing but a disappointment to everyone around me for a number of years. Okay, so I'll tell you what, let's head into some news. And like I said, just kind of keep dropping questions and whatnot in the chat. This could be, half an hour. This could be 3 hours. Like I said, it kind of depends on what you guys feel like talking about. So, let's get to, let's see, what news do I want to do first? How about this? There's a new streaming service on the block, and that is Kino Cult is the name of it. The good people at Kino Lorber, Lorber? Not sure. Anyway, those people have been putting out cult movies for a long, long time. They just started a free with ads kind of streaming service, much in the vein of a Pluto or a Tubi. And the reason I pointed out to you is it's free, and that's the best price. But also, it's got some weirdo movies, including this little Satan guy here. It's got, let's take a peek here at some of the movies being offered. We've got Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, Dogtooth, Bees Clawing at Straws, The Forbidden Room, Let the Corpses Tan, which is a terrific title for a movie, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not fool ourselves. Bay of Blood is on there, Black Sabbath and Black Sunday, bunch of Jean Rollin films, a bunch of that stuff. So yeah, and again, it's all free. So if you are of the mind to check out some Kino Lorber classics, it's free to you. It's right there on a streaming service at no additional cost other than your valuable time. Derek pointing out a lot of Uncle Jess on there. Yep, 100%. Keto Cult blue-balling us Canadian Android users, says Alan. Yeah, get yourself one of them VPNs is the solution to that. Those things cost like $1 a month or something. Get a VPN, get yourself a US address, you can watch whatever you want. It's costs you next to nothing. Derek pointing out that everyone should watch Female Vampire on Kino Cult. If you want to make and or lose friends, depends on their taste. But I think it's a great idea. I wish like Arrow's got their streaming service that I don't really watch, but I subscribe to for no good reason. And I need to cancel my subscription on that because I got it for a very specific reason I can't remember now, and I don't ever really use it, which is a bummer. More the problem for me. He's Clutching at Straws, also a great title. That's right. Okay. So that's all I got to say about that. Let's move on to news of the week number 2. And that, of course, is the brilliant, the lovely, the talented Mike Flanagan is now going to do an adaptation of Fall of the House of Usher. And I couldn't be happier. Like we've talked about Midnight Mass already. And I thought Midnight Mass was great. The more I think about it, the more I like it. And I know, actually, Robert, if Robert is here watching, Robert kind of said that he was not as much of a fan of everybody sitting around talking about, navel gazing topics like the death of, or what happens after we die and the nature of addiction and shit like that. So, yeah, I get it. When if you heard the conversation that I had with Jamie and Brian Sammons about Midnight Mass, one of my not really a complaint, but it was just like, yeah. I mean, the movie or the series definitely leans into the monologues for sure. But I'm kind of down for that. I think Mike Flanagan is a good writer. I like hearing him write. Clearly, he likes hearing himself write also. So I enjoyed that. But to do a Poe adaptation and doing Fall of the House of Usher, I think makes a lot of sense. I think that he could do an amazing job with it. And I want to see him get gothic in a way that I don't think he really has before. So, he's adapted Stephen King. He's definitely touched on some H.P. Lovecraft with Absentia. Let's see what he does with Poe. I'm Rayman himself pointing out, in Flanagan we trust. Damn right, in Flanagan we trust. Guy just doesn't know how to make a bad movie. So I'm very, very excited about a little bit of Mike Flanagan and House of Usher. Jason pointing out, if you want to see an absolutely ridiculous monkey movie, King Kong ripoff loaded with 3D gags, you need to see Ape on Kino Cult. I don't know if I've seen that, which is strange because I like a movie where a giant ape runs amok. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but it's true. I do like movies featuring large monkeys or monkey-like creatures like a Sasquatch. I'm very excited for you guys to see that game show I did dressed up as Sasquatch. That's going to be a good time. I think that's going to be week of Halloween is when that's going to drop. So, yeah. I'll give Ape a look. I ain't above it. Rayman asks us, why don't we have a DBCC streaming service? That kind of licensing is expensive. That's really the big reason. I would love, one of the things that I enjoyed doing, like we just didn't have enough people kind of turning out for it for me to continue it, but we were doing some cast stuff where I was able to sort of, do a little bit of movie programming, and there is nothing more I would love to do than a Legion podcast streaming movie festival. And it's something I've looked into, and it's kind of pricey, and it's one of those things that if I just had the money to throw at something for no good reason, I would do that for just vanity. But yeah, and it's just the trick of like, hey, you got to get the rights to the movie that you're showing. And I would like to do it that way of like, let me get a handful of movies and stream it like that. Just here's the website, go to this website, you hit the stream button and there you are. One of the local movie theaters in Nashville did that recently, and I thought they did a great job with it. And so I kind of have poked at that a little bit, and it's something that's doable, but I don't know. It's something I dream about more than anything, but maybe one of these days. Dan saying Flanagan is here to save us all. Alan also backing that up with Dunwich Horror, please. Yeah, man. Flanagan doing Dunwich Horror would be pretty good. I could get down with that in a big bad way. So yeah, I hope. I don't know. I was gonna say he'll probably get around to that, but time is limited, and I would love to see him tackle some Lovecraft directly instead of just kind of borrowing from Lovecraft. Let's see. Robert saying in the latest 31 episode, you also said that you are more agnostic, while I'm still very much an atheist and had little time with religion, unlike you, Kate, and the Salmons. Yeah, and yeah, that's something that maybe that show hit me at the right time, as I am certainly thinking about religion more, or not necessarily organized religion, but thinking about faith and those big questions of like what happens when you die and stuff. And I don't know, it's something that I'm exploring more. I would have said like 5 years ago, I would have been where Robert is, where I said like, oh, I'm just 100% an atheist, and anyone who believes differently is deluding themselves. And I don't know that I believe that anymore. I'm not saying it's wrong to believe that. I'm not saying atheism is not actually correct, but I don't know. It like, this is going to sound like a strange statement, but I do believe that there is something spiritual in the world, and I don't quite have my arms around what that thing is, or how it affects us, but I think there's something, rather than nothing. And even though I do think, the whole speech that, or monologue, I should say, that Kate Siegel has at the end of Midnight Mass is probably what I believe in terms of the nature of life after death, in that it's not like preserving a consciousness or something, that you just sort of go back to this pool of energy, or return to your basic components or whatever. Perhaps, I don't know, but it's something that the show, like I said, it came along at the right time, where I've been thinking about a lot of those things, and the show is very much a number of looks at that thing. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're just like, all of these people are fucking deluding themselves, then yeah, you're not gonna wrestle with it the same way that I have. But again, I'm, to each their own. I'm certainly, like I said, I'm just trying to wrap my arms around the idea of something maybe, as opposed to the nothing I've always believed in. So I don't have any answers. That's for damn sure. No More Room in Hell is here. Is that is that Jerry? I don't know. Who's behind the NMRIH? Because I'll forget. So Jason says, I saw him mixed in with all the Flanagan stuff this week that he's adapting the comic. Someone is killing the children. My first thought was, is it Bo's birthday? And here we are. 100%. When I saw a little bit of that too, and I didn't put it in the news because it's just kind of smoke at this point. It's a little bit of, well, I think that's going to happen. Maybe he's just executive producing. But from the first time, and Jason can back me up on this, from the first time I read Something is Killing the Children, I was like, somebody is going to do this. This is way too good not to adapt. And it's just a question of who's going to do it and when. But yeah, if Mike Flanagan is in fact the guy responsible for that, oh my goodness. Yeah. Is it Bo's birthday? It is. And if Mike Flanagan were to give me a call and be like, hey, we're totally doing it, and also we're going to need you as a creative consultant, that's really the best present. And maybe blowjobs. You know. Rayman says, I'd love to see Flanagan tackle an animated adaptation of Clive Barker's The Thief of Always. That would be good. I would also say a little GDT, Guillermo del Toro, doing Thief of Always would be great. I know for a fact that Nia DaCosta is a fan of that, and after seeing her Candyman, I'd be down with seeing her try to do Thief of Always. I thought that was great. New podcast idea, Philosophy with Bo. You know, you're going to get a little bit of that moving forward anyway, because one of the things that, especially with Dark Parade and doing like little bite-sized stuff here and there, is just the idea of like, yeah, I'm definitely going to talk about some shit that doesn't necessarily come up on other shows that I do and that kind of thing. And doing the 31 days stuff has been a lot of fun because it's an opportunity to get kind of personal about my reactions to movies and my thoughts about movies and how it affects my life. That sounds very narcissistic, and I guess podcasting in general is kind of an exercise in narcissism to one degree or another. But also, I think I hope that I have a perspective. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some philosophy mixed in with this business. And let's see, I think the entire universe is connected and working a constant symbiotic relationship, and that's what people mistake for spirituality. Yeah, I mean, mistake for or just explain as. I don't know. I wonder if that's not semantics to some degree. Again, I would point to that last monologue of Kate Siegel in Midnight Mass. The notion that I've really found myself drawn to is the line, "We are the cosmos dreaming of itself again and again." And I think that is both comforting and kind of beautiful. So, Alan said, my Martyr's Cave confirmed. Yeah. I was thinking about, oh, okay. So all right. That's Mike. Great. Somebody clearing up that the NMRIH podcast is Mike himself. All right, excellent, Mike. Sweet water. Let's see. Speaking of Merriman, saying Flanagan's really good, but I still have Astor, Eggers above him, despite their resumes being smaller at this point. Above him, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that Eggers and Astor are more auteurs. That they are more impressionistic filmmakers to some degree. I think Flanagan is definitely saying something in his work, but I also think that he is a much more mainstream kind of director. And that's kind of what I like about him to a large degree, that he is not so esoteric as an Eggers or an Astor, even though I don't think I disagree with you about this. I wouldn't want to trade any of them for the other. I'm glad that all of this exists. It's sort of like, do I want one of the best hamburgers I've ever had, or do I want lobster tail? And you decide which is which, but it's kind of, it's a little surf and turf. I enjoy Dr. Sleep, the director's cut of that, a tremendous amount. And I really, really appreciate the fact that it is a narrative, like it's a straightforward narrative. And I think that maybe that's Flanagan's bag, is that he is much more a traditional narrative kind of director, as opposed to like a Ben Wheatley. Like, I think In the Earth is one of the best horror movies I've seen this year. I'm trying to think of a better one right now, and maybe there's not a better one. But In the Earth is terrific, but it's also not a movie I can recommend to everybody because it's tremendously subjective in its narrative. So it's terrific, though. I don't disagree with you at all. Derek saying Lamb is the Lamb Chops play along prequel we need in this world. I'm really looking forward to Lamb. I obviously haven't seen it yet. But I'm looking forward to it. It's an A24 joint, and I like A24 joints as a rule. That's on my short list. I haven't seen Jacob's Wife yet, which is probably going to happen tonight. I haven't seen Titan yet, which is probably going to happen tomorrow night or Tuesday night, one of the two. So yeah, I've got a week ahead of me of watching some stuff that I'm very excited about. Yeah. And Mike saying, when I say mistake for, I mean, when people say something bigger than themselves to me, that's the universe and its inner workings, not a mythical being. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't necessarily believe in a consciousness directing everything, that kind of clockmaker idea. But I don't know. I think there is a way to be sort of resonant with the natural vibration of things, that you can be sort of content and at peace with the way that the world works. And I don't mean political systems and shit like that. I mean the rhythms of life. So yeah, I don't know. It's it is the big question, right? And whether or not you agree with Flanagan and his perspective on it, one of the things I respected most about Midnight Mass was that it dared to ask and answer those questions. And so I really admire that. And even though it's not doing it in as flashy a way as Aster or Eggers, it's still a bold move, and it's still head and shoulders above most of the horror cinema that you see made today. Most cinema, not just horror cinema, just most cinema. Like, I love Marvel movies, but Marvel movies are junk food, Mike Flanagan, he makes you a steak. Maybe that's the right analogy. Mike Flanagan is a big ass ribeye with a baked potato. It is very traditional, but when you get it right, man, there ain't nothing better. So, Jason saying there was a very similar line on Babylon 5 that we're the universe made manifest trying to figure itself out. Yeah, it's a similar idea. Certainly a similar idea. And I think that Bill Hicks also had that same kind of philosophy, which is that we are the universe experiencing itself subjectively. And I think there is something to that as well. So, again, I love that we have gotten philosophical on this edition. I'm so happy. Thank you guys so much. This is, I love, like, I was a philosophy minor. So if you want to talk about epistemology, let's do it. Let's get down. Rayman saying Astor, Peele, Flanagan, Eggers are all masters of horror, but for different reasons. Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with that. Andrew saying, you like me lobster, Bo? I do like your lobster. Mike saying Peele might be the happy medium. He has a lot to say, and he writes personal stories, but manages to present them in a mainstream, palatable way. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Us is maybe the less successful version of that, because I think that presents as very traditional and then gets more esoteric as the movie goes on, and to the point that I started finding myself trying to figure out the logic of the movie, and I shouldn't have, and that's probably my fault, but I don't disagree. I think Jordan Peele's a brilliant filmmaker, and while I prefer Get Out to Us, I can't wait to see Nope. I can't wait to see what he does next. He's a brilliant guy. Derek saying Peele's new movie is hopefully a killer cloud movie. I want it to be. I don't know. I think I kind of hope, based on the trailer, but on the poster, I kind of hope it's almost his version of Something Wicked This Way Comes, with that kind of flutter of circus tape, the fluttering kind of tape that you see at car dealerships and whatnot. That would be terrific. And Alan says, I've described Mike Flanagan as a gastropub filmmaker. Yeah, I think that's right. Of like, hey, let's make this thing that you are familiar with, but I'm going to give it to you in a way that is better or unusual or more satisfying than you've had it before. Dan saying the title Nope alone is enough for me to buy a ticket to the movie Nope. That is a yep from me. That's a yeah from me, dog. Yeah. The audacity of just, I'm gonna call my movie Nope. It's so good. Andrew saying, so it's Jordan Peele's The Happening. Don't bite your tongue. Bite your tongue. How dare you? Mike also saying, I for one say yep to Nope. We ought to get shirts made up, everyone. All of the Dark Parade people will get, say yep to Nope. I like it. Well, if only I knew the guy who ran merchandise for Legion Podcasts, maybe we'll get one of those. And just bootleg some shirts. Okay. Let's move on to our last news story. Like I said, I don't have a ton of news stories, don't have a ton of movies, but you guys have already turned this into a longer conversation than I expected. So God bless you all for your good work. And thanks again for being here. I have so much fun doing these, and you guys are great for being here. So, the last story, guess what remake found their lead actor? That's right, Hellraiser. There is a new Pinhead, and it is going to be played by Jamie Clayton, who is an actor I had not heard of. She is the star of a recent L Word series on Showtime. She's been in the show Hung. She's did a show called Transformation. She's a transgendered actress. And anyway, I think we all know where this is headed. This news was announced, and then a lot of people were like, that sounds great. And then a handful of people on the internet said, well, that don't sound like my Pinhead. Consarn it, they said, because a lot of times the internet says consarn it. So here's the thing. I don't have a hot take about this. I think it sounds like a great pick. I think one of the interesting things about the Hellbound Heart, the story that Hellraiser is based on, is that the Cenobites were by nature sort of ambiguously sexual. And that's not to say Jamie Clayton is ambiguously sexual. And Jamie Clayton is very much, she is a woman. She has come out as a woman. That's how she lives. And so, whatever. God bless her. I haven't seen her work. I hope she's a good actress. That's all I care about. But the idea that an actress and or a transgender actress should not play Pinhead is one of the dumbest things I have seen the internet get twisted around the axle about in a while, because it seems so fitting. I don't know anything about Jamie Clayton's sexuality. I have not researched that deeply into her life. I don't know if she's even that upfront about it. But let's be real about Clive Barker, one of the queerest of horror's icons, and has always explored like weird sexuality. Like, there is a story he did forever ago, called the Madonna Pool, I want to say, that was all about kind of transgender issues, and the horror of a man being kind of thrown into a situation where he finds himself suddenly a woman. And so like the idea that you're going to approach a transgender actor, and I'm using actor as a gender neutral term, that is not to suggest that Jamie Clayton is in any way masculine. The fact that a transgender actor is playing a character in a Clive Barker work seems like the most natural fit in the world. Also didn't see Sense8, that Wachowski project that she was in. So I thought it was I thought it was a terrific idea. And again, I don't think it's stunt casting. I don't think you're doing it just to do it, but I think that Jamie Clayton, as a transgender woman, can bring a certain like a different ideology to that character, And I'm all, like I said, couldn't be more for it. I'm very excited to see. I hope that's not the most interesting thing about this remake, but I think it's an interesting idea and an interesting way to go with the character. So I think in Hellbound Heart, somebody can correct me on this one, but I think even in the description of the Hell Priest, somebody pointed out Andrew pointed out that Andrew pointed out that Clive Barker has always kind of bristled at the name Pinhead and gone more with Hell Priest. And yeah, so I think in Hellbound Heart, that character presents as either androgynous or female, but it kind of doesn't matter because like sexuality in hell is whatever you want it to be. So anyway, I think it's a great idea. I'm very excited. Like, this has me interested in the Hellraiser sequel, or not sequel, but reboot, in a way that maybe I wasn't before, where I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I'm glad that they didn't just try to get whatever the closest thing to a Doug Bradley is today. Doug Jones, maybe? I don't know. Bradley Whitaker. I don't think that's a person. Who's the one from that Chris Christopherson movie? Wow. A Star is Born. What's that guy's name? Bradley something. Bradley Whitford, I think, is Josh from West Wing. He would also be quite good. Anyway, Dan pointing out there was a lot of online hate for this casting. You know, that's all right. So this is kind of what I want to get into. As not just because I find this to be an interesting bit of casting. Let me take a drink of water so I'm prepared to go off on this fucking rant. Here's the thing that I was saying just earlier today. This is some gatekeeping bullshit that I have no time for in the horror community. And this happens when a movie is announced or like some established property. Could be a reboot or a remake of an existing film. Could be an adaptation of a horror novel. Could be an adaptation of a comic. Whatever it is. Could be a horror version of The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. Doesn't matter. There is some asshole that's going to be sitting out there on the internet that is going to get really wrapped up in, well, that's not what I had in mind. And it's like, well, you're not making the movie. You know, if you got a few $1 million and want to bankroll this project, you get to say anything you want about it. You can also say, hey, that doesn't sound like what I want to see. That's fine. As long as you keep it, the locus on you, the frame of reference is you, like, oh, that doesn't sound like something I would be interested in, as opposed to, that's not Pinhead. That's not Pinhead to me, totally valid. That's not Pinhead, that's gatekeeping bullshit. And you should allow filmmakers to do whatever they want to do with a property. It may not be your thing. Like, I don't give a shit about that new Halloween movie. I know a lot of people like it. I don't go around trashing it because it is my bag. I know everyone was excited about Jamie Lee Curtis coming back, and it's a different take on the material and all that stuff, or sort of a return to old form and that kind of thing. I just didn't care for it much. That's fine. Should they continue to make Halloween Kills and Halloween Dies or whatever it is, the third sequel or the next sequel? Yeah, absolutely. They should be able to make whatever they want. And that's the glory of being a consumer of entertainment. We get to pick and choose. You know what I can still go back and watch? Halloween. You know what's still a great movie? Halloween. You know, it doesn't diminish anything. If you like the original Hellraiser, you can still go back and enjoy the original Hellraiser. That is always going to be there for you and probably released in a 4K version with bells and whistles pretty soon. So, you know, you've got that in your back pocket. And if you want to, like, spend your days trying to suck the energy and joy out of somebody that likes something, then you're just an asshole. That's where I land on it. Again, if you want to if you want to critique something and say, here is my take on this, as far as what my interpretation of this material, and and that's more, I'm talking more like reviewing. This is something that also got sent to me recently. I'll get to chat in a minute. I know you guys have been talking, so I'm almost done, I swear. There was was it Alan who sent this to me? I think that was the articles about how there is a dying art to the hatchet job. I think that was the name of the article, and also a similar one about how the food critic in Ratatouille is secretly one of the heroes of that film. That a critic saying, I don't think this is a good movie, or I don't think this project is good, that is not a personal attack on the people who enjoy that thing. That is somebody with a particular perspective saying, here is my experience. Like, one of the things I wish, is that when you guys and I, talk about movies, you understand that I have kind of a perspective on movies. There's shit I like. If you put a giant bear killing somebody in a movie, the movie might be kind of garbage, but I'm probably going to like it a little bit more than most people because that's a thing that appeals to me. And when I say, hey, there's a movie called Grizzly 3, The Abomination, and it was fucking rad, you would know, well, he does like those killer bear movies, and it may not be for me. That is kind of the relationship between critic and the audience of that critique, right? And there are some people, Doug and I were talking about this today. Most of the time when Jamie Sammons tells me that I'm going to like a movie, she's right. Not so much all the time, not that Nightmare sequel. Well, we talked about that, but anyway, that kind of like personalization where you identify with a brand or a series of movies or whatever so intensely that you cannot allow someone else to disagree with that's on you, brother. Like, that is a thing that you just got to get over, because you live in a world with other people, and other people have different experiences and other tastes, and sometimes those tastes are going to align, sometimes they won't. Like Mike saying, hey, and Robert saying, or more Robert than Mike. I'm kind of lumping both of you into this conversation about Midnight Mass. But, Robert saying like, Midnight Mass didn't hit me the way that it hit you guys. Doesn't change my opinion of Midnight Mass. I respect Robert for having a different opinion, quite frankly, for not being the kind of person that's just like, whatever you say, guys. Like, he's thinking critically about the thing he's watching. And just because our opinions differ doesn't mean that we don't align on other things, on most things. Like, Robert and I have very similar tastes when it comes to a lot of Asian movies and stuff like that. So just being able to say, yeah, okay, we disagree about this thing. It's one of the bigger problems with this country, is just not being able to say, oh, we disagree about that, but I also genuinely like you. Just don't make, particularly an entertainment property, a thing that a corporation is selling to you. Don't make that the thing that you're going to get on a soapbox about and lose friendships over and be shitty on the internet about and all that stuff. And I think maybe that is the end of the rant. Let me check with chat. So, done. And all right, so Rayman saying, I read the Hellbound Heart every other year, and I'm so tired of having to explain to people what the Cenobites were originally presented as. Yeah, but that's like, you're right, but the argument isn't, here is how they're fucking up the adaptation of the story. The argument that these people who have a problem with Jamie Clayton being cast, there's a little bit of transphobia, probably. That's fine. I would be remiss if I did not at least raise the name Cindy Sin Fallon as someone who was, at least adjacent to the Legion Podcast Network for a long time. She was transgendered and ended up dying as a result of the depression and the just how shitty life is for transgendered women most of the time. And ended up dying as a result of that. And so anytime that I get a whiff of transphobia, I get a little pissed off about it. So yeah, that's part of the rant. But yeah, you're right, Ram Man. This is people complaining about this ain't my movie. Like the Doug Bradley movie from, was it 85? Is that when the original Hellraiser was released? So yeah, right. It's not the movie that you liked 36 years ago. This is going to be a different thing. And if somebody can't come along every couple of generations and try a new thing, like we wouldn't have The Thing because, like, oh, where's my vegetable monster? That's the kind of shit that sounds like to me. Anyway, Andrew says people are just so used to Doug Bradley as the character they would hate it no matter who they cast. There's an element of that, to be sure. I don't think it's necessarily that it's Jamie Clayton. I think that it's anybody else. But I think that it's the fact that it's a transgender actress is not. I think it's inflaming it a little bit, because some of the arguments I've heard is like, I'm so sick and tired of this woke casting. And it's like Jamie Clayton's been performing in television and movies for a while now. So it's not like they just, pulled somebody off the street. This is, an actor who's worked hard to be where she is. So anyway, yeah, but you're right. There is an element of that, to be sure. Also, Abraham Ram saying, I honestly think Doug Bradley doesn't want to be Pinhead anymore unless it's for the Scarlet Gospels. Yeah, Doug Bradley's an old man, like, why sit in the makeup chair that long? And he's done his time. He's done his time in hell, as the old saying goes. Mike says, I just hope the Hellraiser story goes back to being about the scumbag people themselves, and the Cenobites are supporting characters, not main focus. Yeah, that's when they're best, right? Like, though they are the consequence of the actions of the main characters. And I hope you're right. I think you're right. We'll see. Derek saying, I trust David Bruckner with this new Hellraiser. Absolutely. Like, anybody that wants to take a swing at this material, I think it's been long enough that you have every right to do it. So much of Barker, Alan says, is transforming into your true self. This is a can of corn, as they say. Yeah. Barker is very much an author who is into, sort of, right, because for a long time, I don't know that he was outed. I don't know if again, this is early 80s when, because of the Reagan years, there was nothing easy about being gay in America. Not like it's a cakewalk now, but yeah. So I think Clive Barker, the idea of having this identity that you have to hide from others, and this desire to unleash this part of yourself, I don't think any of that is surprising in his work. Derek saying the Cenobites are never the main focus. Hellraiser 2 and Hellraiser 3 is mostly about the Cenobites. Even if you don't see them all the time, it is very much a movie about, like, Hellraiser 2 is sort of, let's find the home of the Cenobites. We get to see how Cenobites are made in that one. I love Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, but I would say that that's more, I think they understood kind of what they had with that one. In fact, the movie poster is just the Cenobites. Like, the first one is Pinhead with the box, sure, but in Hellbound, they definitely put them front and center, I think. And Hell on Earth also, maybe less so, but there's still a whole lot of Pinhead and Cenobite tomfoolery in that one. Dan says, I think it'll be a fresh take and would be less interested if it was Doug playing Hell Priest Pinhead again, especially after some of the last few sequels. I agree. A fresh actor and director and all that stuff. And first of all, it'll be nice to see a movie that the script was intended to be a Hellraiser movie and not just some other horror movie that they decided, like, hey, what if we put Cenobites in this? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's an exciting idea, not just because of the casting. I just think it's an exciting idea to do something new and different with Hellraiser. Let's see. Derek says could be a Batman casting. No, wait. I went too far. Derek says Butterball is actually the lead Cenobite in Hellbound Heart. Yeah, that's right. If memory serves, been a while, but yeah, I need to go back and read that. I've been thanks to whoever it was. Sorry, because my memory fades and I get confused. But somebody pointed out after the Amityville Horror 31 Days of Halloween that the book was of Amityville Horror was available on Audible for free, and so I've been listening to that again. But I may go back to Hellbound Heart after this discussion. That may be the next thing. Forrest Whitaker as Pinhead. That would be interesting. Damn right, Rayman. The best part of that would be him like walking down a street in Pinhead regalia and meeting RZA. And, power and equality, Pinhead. Always see everything, my brother. Ghost Dog. One of the best movies ever made. Jason says the Cenobites were so transgressive and bold and new at the time, and just a few years ago, bringing in a transgender actor for the role would have been just as bold and very Clive Barker. Yeah, I still think that, I don't know that we're that far along where it doesn't feel a little transgressive. Certainly less so than it would before, Elliot Page and a lot of very famous transgender performers kind of coming out. Maybe less so because of RuPaul's Drag Race and the Boulet brothers. And I know that's a different thing. That's, drag and not transgender performers. But, it's that kind of thing. It's blurring the lines of gender and sexuality. And it's a thing that continues forward, despite how much others in this culture might not think that that is a great idea on the right, one might say. But, it's happening whether you want it to or not. Culture moves on, no matter how you try to legislate as it happens. Dan says Bradley Cooper equals sexy Pinhead. Damn right. That's who I was trying to think of, and you're right. That is one sexy ass Pinhead. Rayman says, so you're saying we can't go around trashing Chris Carter anymore? I'm not saying you can't trash Chris Carter. I'm saying you have to qualify it. You have to say, I think Chris Carter is washed up. You just can't say Chris Carter is washed up. Especially going into, what's the expression, like, don't yuck someone else's yum. Like, I wouldn't go into an X-Files support group or a fan group or a fan page and be like, Chris Carter sucks. I will say my experience with Chris Carter in the later years of his attempts to do X-Files storylines has been very disappointing, and it made me angry. And I probably said some things that I should take back, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, Andrew saying the worst take is when people say they're going social justice with it. These people don't understand who Clive Barker is or his art. That's what I agree with. I think that to try to say that this is somehow a woke version of Pinhead or something, you just don't know who the hell Clive Barker is. Like, Clive Barker is like I said, he's one of the queerest writers that's ever touched horror fiction. And God bless him for it. Like, the thing that makes horror great is that horror is personal. And while I may not respond to everything that Clive Barker lays down, he's an interesting voice in horror and has been incredibly influential in horror. So yeah, like, give the guy his due and let him do whatever the fuck he wants. I think he's a writer or an executive producer or some business on this. So yeah, let Clive Barker be Clive Barker. If he wants, if they cast a transgender actor in this role and your first reaction is that sounds like social justice shit, then again, you are looking at the world through a very different prism. And are kind of looking for trouble, quite frankly. You're looking for a fight with that attitude. Dan saying it's an epic birthday rant. Thank you. Yeah, this is one of those things that pisses me off. Alan says, say what you will about Gene Siskel, but I love his mantra of not judging a movie for what it's not. Yeah, I have that problem sometimes. That is a fault of mine, I will admit. There are times when I'm watching a movie where I'm like, it would be so much better if it was this instead of that. But I also think you can equate that to this movie is not satisfying me in its narrative, and I'm just trying to write some fan fiction to make it better. But yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Derek saying, I want Christopher Lambert in a Killer Bear movie. Oh, that would be the best. I am 100% there for that. We are going after this grizzly. That would be great. Mike saying Nightmare sequel. You mean the remake? Yeah. That's what I mean. The that god awful Elm Street remake. Yeah. Look, do I understand and appreciate that people like that movie? Sure. Is it for me? No. I thought that movie was garbage. I was going to say, well, there are parts of it I'm like, nah. What I like about it is I think the performance of Freddy is pretty good. I think everything else about it is disappointing to terrible. Alan saying rest in peace, Cindy Fallon. Damn right. It is a shame that that was her end. But hopefully it certainly woke me up to a lot of things, and I'm not saying that it was worth it on that account. Certainly wasn't. I would trade all of my perspective for her to be with us again. But it's one of those things like when it hits close to home like that, it changes your perspective, and you lose a lot of tolerance for people who are intolerant, if that makes sense. Abraham Ram saying, whenever I think of tasteful arguments, I think of you and Duncan discussing Avengers Endgame. You both made solid points and didn't belittle each other. Yeah, Duncan and I both understand that, we have our tastes and we have our perspectives. And, you like make it about how you felt about the experience of watching the thing and not the other person, and you're fine. Like I'm not going after anybody. Like when I tease Jamie about liking the Nightmare remake, it's just because I like teasing Jamie. It's not because I really want to make her feel bad about it. I mean, she ought to feel bad about it, but that's not the goal. So, hey, Naomi saying happy birthday. Hey, thanks for thanking me for the podcast, and I hope you enjoy it. It's been a blast, and sorry you had to listen to me rant so much. But thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Derek saying Bradley Cooper was in Midnight Meat Train. Yeah, right. He did do some Clive Barker. I think that movie is kind of fun, but I think that CGI doesn't hold up real well, and that kind of bothers me. I should go back and watch that again, because I remember kind of liking it, but not, completely. Alan saying, that's not my thing. Right. That's all you got to say. That's not my thing. Abraham saying, if gatekeepers were as prominent back then, we would have probably never had Christopher Lee as Dracula, because they complained about it being a remake of the Universal films. Right. Where is his Hungarian accent? Where's his widow's peak? That kind of shit. Yeah, right. Jason says it won't live up to Doug's iconic performance. With that attitude, nothing will. I'm glad they're so clearly not even trying and going their own way. Yeah, like if somebody said like how I feel about Ghostbusters Afterlife, where I saw the trailer and I was like, that ain't for me. I'm not going to tell anybody not to go and enjoy that, but that ain't the Ghostbusters movie I want to see. I'm not looking for a kid's romp. And that's what that movie looks like to me. And that's not what I enjoy about Ghostbusters. But I can go back and watch Ghostbusters, and whoever wants to go watch Ghostbusters Afterlife and enjoy it, God bless. If somebody comes to me and is like, no, it really is. Somehow they've captured lightning in a bottle yet again, and it's as good as the original Ghostbusters. I'll give it a shot. I ain't above it. But based on the trailer or the couple of trailers I've seen from that, I'm like, not for me. That's all. Just ain't for me. Dan says a similar thing happened recently along with the 2 new He-Man reboots, and the online community were tearing each other apart over it. Yeah, I'm not a He-Man guy, but I saw that the Kevin Smith one got a little bit of flack and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's just, this ain't your daddy's He-Man, and it's kind of like, well, that's right. Like, you can't go home again, as Tom Wolfe said. If you want to enjoy the thing that you enjoy, you can watch the original He-Man cartoons these days. I assume that you can get access to that. And so fine, enjoy the thing you like. The fact that when they remake it, they're not doing a shot for shot Gus Van Sant remake of it. Like, how on earth could they, and why would they do that? So yeah, if it ain't for you, it ain't for you, but don't give somebody a hard time because they want to see somebody try something different. Dan saying he agrees with me. That's how you know he's smart. You can always go back to the original if you don't like the new version, but let people enjoy their stuff. Yeah. Whether you like it or not, as much as we moan about remakes and reboots, it all helps keep the original movie show franchise alive. 100%. Totally. Like, if it gets somebody to go back and watch the original Hellraiser, great. Let them enjoy that for the first time. And if the reboot comes out and they're like, well, this ain't as good as the original Hellraiser, that may very well be my opinion too, but I ain't going to give them a hard time about making it. Try to make it better. Like with that Wrong Turn sequel, I don't think it's great, but it did different stuff, and I like the fact that it tried something different. I'm glad that it wasn't just, hey, this is Wrong Turn with different actors. I don't need it to be a summer Shakespeare festival where it's still 12th Night every time, and you just, set it in Funky Town or change the actors, or it's all gender swapped or whatever. Like, that's fine, but it's not as interesting as doing something unique with the property. Mike saying the key is resisting turning Hellraiser into a slasher movie the way the franchise did. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the idea of it being, like I said, it's a consequence. The Cenobites are the consequence of crossing a line, of daring. It's sort of the old mad scientist thing of, you can't, if you dare to tread too far into the dark territories, then you're gonna get your chain yanked. The Cenobites say it themselves. You called, we came. And are you up in the box and we came? And that's how it works. Like, if you're the kind of person that's gonna go to some far eastern location and get the lament configuration from some weirdo in a stall, then it all because that you're so tired of drugs and fucking and all that stuff that you have to experience something new. Well, the something new may not be what you want, and that's what makes Hellraiser interesting. Yes, we're all right here. We're all in the right space. Mike also saying it's like people saying the new Candyman isn't good because it's too woke. Say, did you watch the original or read the novel it's based on? Yeah, that was a complaint that I was like, I don't know where this comes from. I did a review of that and said the same thing, where I was like, it's the whole movie is predicated on the idea that a black man is murdered by a bunch of white people because he dared to fall in love with and impregnate a white woman. And if you don't think that there is race politics at work in that movie, then you're just not paying attention to the movie. There's a lot of race politics, a lot of race and social politics in that movie. It's a very, not buried, but it's all largely subtext. But also you have characters just outright saying like, oh yeah, we walled off this community by the trains. And basically saying, as long as we don't have to look at these people, they can live however they want, and we're not going to send police and all that stuff. Yeah, that's a very, like if that movie were released today, people would complain about it being too woke. Jason saying I could go off on a rant about comic fans, in quotes, and their rage against social justice, but that's a topic for another day. Yeah, that's the same shit of like, you do know that Captain America punched Hitler in the face, right? Naomi saying Christopher Lambert. We need to do a Christopher Lambert voice on Duck and a Boat Come Correct. We haven't found the right character yet, I don't think. Abraham said, I totally imagine Bo watching Hereditary and thinking, this doesn't have nearly enough bears. You're not wrong. I could go for more bears in Hereditary. Like, Hereditary is fantastic, but more bears? I mean, is that ever a bad thing? I don't think so. Mike saying, art as a whole has always been woke for its specific time periods. It's often a reflection of life during the time it is created. Yeah, well, you're right. Like, if you want to look at painting as an example, you have people who do landscapes and you have Picasso. And the Picassos of the world are going to push boundaries, and some people are going to be willing to do, more pedestrian stuff. So, and that's fine. There's room for both. Like, there's room in this world for the movie The Jungle Cruise and Candyman. Both of those came out this year, both wildly different movies. One of them I saw, the other one I didn't. And that's just because I'm the person I am and broken on the inside. And I just don't care that much about Jungle Cruise, although I did watch Muppet Haunted Mansion. Quick review of that. It's fine. I wish it had been better, but also, this is an old man. This is a super old man complaint. But my biggest problem with the Muppet Haunted Mansion is that just the Muppets don't sound right to me. It's because I grew up with Jim Henson and those Muppets. So when I watched Muppet Haunted Mansion, there were some jokes that made me laugh. I still am, my dear lady friend will be the first to tell you that I'm essentially an 8-year-old at heart. And so that's true. And so when I watched Muppet Haunted Mansion, I did so eating a piece of birthday cake with a big grin on my face. Laughed a couple of times. At the end of it, it wasn't totally for me, but I would definitely, I would kind of recommend it. It's fun. There are a couple of really good jokes in it, and I like a good Muppet joke. Naomi is too shy to ask you about Kate's new show. So Heart of Horror, like I said, that'll be released sometime this week on the Dark Parade feed, at least. Hopefully, we're talking about where Kate is going to release it as well. We were kind of hoping to do a little bit of, cross-pollination with that. But, that'll be released sometime this week. And it is the two of us talking about the movie after midnight. And eventually we'll do another episode. Like, it's not going to be a regular schedule. But it's us talking about the movie after midnight and also talking about just relationships and sometimes bad relationships and stuff like that. It's a great time. You're really going to like it. I guarantee you are going to enjoy that show. And I say that knowing I'm in it. And that part you can mute. But listening to Kate tell stories about her dating life, there is no bullshit. There is a story she tells about incest, not her, obviously, but sort of attempted incest by somebody that she dated. That is one of the best things I've ever heard. You're going to love it. Derek saying, I need the Ghost Dog sequel where Ghost Dog fights Lambert. Yeah. Like, look, I just want Jim Jarmusch to do another Ghost Dog film. Do it as a prequel. Do it as a sequel where he didn't actually die. Whatever you got to do, just do another one. Jason saying, Chris in a Werebear movie, The Lambert. Oh no, my claws are getting so big, and I have a desire for honey. That would be amazing. Christopher Lambert is pretty good. Dan saying, people seem to think that the term woke is a bad thing too. To be woke just means more inclusive. Yeah, it's it has become a pejorative in the way that calling somebody a liberal was at one time. Maybe that's still the case, but yeah, it's just there are cultural differences, and like I said, the big problem isn't so much being called woke. I don't mind being called woke. It's the idea that if somebody calls you woke, I guarantee you they're probably not going to be as thrilled with the idea of being called regressive or close-minded or racist. That's a real one-way street for most people. Like, they're the ones who are broken and I'm fine. And that, I don't mean to both sides this issue, but it is kind of a both sides problem where calling somebody, like saying, oh, well, only rednecks call people woke or whatever. Like, as soon as you start labeling other people, until they prove you wrong, if somebody is very clearly a redneck idiot, that's fine. You can call them that, but just don't jump to that conclusion at first. Alan saying Hereditary. Now we're talking. Now we get the Ari Aster universe where we've got Hereditary, which I love. I love this a lot. And then Midsummer. You could change that. And yeah. I like all of this. This is great. If a bear sawed its own head off in Hereditary, it would be amazing. You're right. I'll tell you what, you replace the entire cast of Hereditary with CGI bears, that movie goes from a 10 to an 11. That would be amazing. I would love that. Dan Rightly pointing out Alan's a genius for Hereditary. Mike saying, I like dumb horror and I like elevated horror. I think it's dumb to criticize either for what they are. If your preference is one type over the other, that's fine. Yeah, man, I'm the same way. Like, I love a great, juicy, issues-oriented horror movie, but I also like my found footage shit, and some of that is garbage, but I like it. It's the garbage I like. Like, I would rather watch, I'm trying to think of a good quality garbage found footage movie. Like Evidence is a good example of that. Evidence, not a great movie as a whole, but it's got the kind of found footage nonsense that appeals to me. And so I'd rather watch that than Jungle Cruise. And I don't mean to keep, bashing on Jungle Cruise. I'm just using that as an example of, like, here's a big budget Disney tentpole movie that is going to make $1 billion at the box office. I just don't care anything about it. Mike saying woke has just become a catch-all term for believes different than I do. Yeah, Dan's agreeing with that. I agree. Mike says, what's worse than criticism of modern movies being too woke are the ones who try to deny older stuff was full of commentary too, as if their inability to see past surface means it doesn't exist. Yeah, it's kind of like, somebody saying that Dawn of the Dead is a great zombie movie. Thank God that they didn't put any political shit in it. And, it's, some people want to see what they want to see. And that there's a hint of narcissism in that, where you want your world view reflected back at you to some degree. You want to be, a lot of people especially want to be told that they're right for thinking that the things that they do. And I'm not saying I'm totally different, because there are times that, yeah, if I feel a certain way about a movie, I'm always excited when somebody I respect tells me that they feel the same way. But also, I like to be challenged a little bit. I like a movie that isn't totally what I expect and is a little bit different, or just a point of view. Today's date, it will remind me that I don't have a whole lot of years left. And in those years, I really want to be challenged. I want to learn as much as I can, so that when I'm leaving this mortal coil, I can do so thinking I at least gave everybody a day in court. That I tried to treat everybody I could with kindness, and that I tried to understand their perspective. And I think if everybody did a little bit of that, world would probably be a better place. Abraham saying, what if the demons from Hereditary and Midsummer were unleashed on the world and the only one who could stop them is a grizzly? All right, let me give you, look, nobody brings an umbrella to a brainstorm. I like where this is headed. What if that was the setup, but Grizzly had to join forces with Andrew Prine and his bazooka to make kind of an uneasy ally sort of thing, where, Andrew Prine's like, now we got to go get them demons, bear. You gonna be cool? Like, maybe the Grizzly's gonna come at him. He's, all right, I'm keeping an eye on you, bear. Me and my bazooka, I got a hair trigger, and if you decide that you want to take a chunk out of me, brother, I'm just going to have to take a chunk out of you with this here bazooka. That would be maybe the best movie I've ever seen. If you somehow, I'll tell you what, the Hereditary and Midsummer thing, let's go a different direction. It's Evil Dead only with Andrew Prine and Grizzly fighting the Deadites. Best movie ever? Probably. Derek says, I'll watch Rebirth of Mothra, even though they make Mothra a male in that. I'm not complaining. Yeah, right? I don't know. I kind of have my problems with that. One of the things I like most about Mothra movies is that she just doesn't want to get out of bed, and I respect that. Mike saying Jungle Cruise was big dumb fun, a movie I had never have seen had I not had kids. Right. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's a bad movie. I'm saying me as an adult person with no kids, why on earth would I see it? Like, at some point, maybe I'll catch it on HBO or something. Probably have a fine time with it. I'm using that as an unfortunate example here of the movie I can point to that's like, this is the movie that is kind of built to please the most people. And, your Marvel movies, Jungle Cruise, basically anything Disney puts out at this point is meant to get as many eyes on it as possible. And that's fine. And most people are going to enjoy that. And I'll enjoy some of that too. But, at the end of the day, I would rather see Titan as a new movie. Like, probably the crossover for me is Dune, because I know that's a big budget spectacle movie, but it's also Denis Villeneuve and it's also Dune, and I can't wait to see it. Alan says, I don't get how fans of a genre based on imagination can appeal to, is it hegemony? Is that the correct pronunciation? I always see that written and I don't say it a lot. I think it's hegemony. Hegemony. All right. I think it's hegemony. Derek says Andrew Prine is still alive too, so that could happen. Look, man, we've got the CGI. We can put Peter Cushing in them Star Wars movies. We can put Andrew Prine in a movie where he and a bear fight the Deadites. Mike saying summer popcorn movies. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Just a summer popcorn movie. I enjoy plenty of those, but given my druthers, would I watch that or a found footage movie? Probably a found footage movie. If we're being honest with one another, and why not? Derek saying, but they add an evil goth fairy lady in Rebirth of Mothra. That's all that really matters. Yeah, Duncan and I, if you missed it, had a conversation earlier today about the goth-ish medical examiner in the Slasher season 3, episode 2 episode that I think both of us really enjoyed. Okay, all right. So let's start bringing her in for a landing here. This won't take long. Here are some horror movies coming to streaming between now and when next we talk. Coming to Netflix, nothing. I couldn't find nothing. On Hulu, a movie called Sleepwalker that is I haven't heard of, but that's happened. Then on Amazon, you got some of them Welcome to the Blumhouse movies coming out. Both of these have dropped, and I don't think I mentioned them last week. But it's Madres, which means mothers, and The Manor, which The Manor is the one I'm really interested in because that is directed by Axel Carolyn, who is a female horror director that I don't know that I'm crazy about her output so far, but I really like her. I've heard her in a fair amount of interviews, and I just tend to agree with her. And so I'm always hoping that I'm going to connect with her on the next movie she directs. And so I'm going to give it a shot. And plus it's Barbara Hershey, and I like Barbara Hershey as well. Also, between now and next we talk on Amazon Prime, they're rolling out that I Know What You Did Last Summer series. So if you want a slasher series that ain't slasher, and God knows it's got to be better, then check that out. Nothing on HBO Max, sadly. Oh, Abraham saying Prine, Grizzly, and that guy from Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, the one with the shotgun. Now that's a movie. Holy shit, that's a great idea. Shotgun guy from the marked ones, Andrew Prine, and Grizzly fighting Deadites. Done. And you call it Evil Dead 5, Grin and Bear It. All right. On Shudder, coming soon is before I do that, Derek with a quality burn of Mike Merriman saying, "Is Sleepwalker the Mike Merriman biopic we need?" That's very funny. And Robert saying Netflix did recently upload a short on YouTube written completely by bots. That's amazing. I saw something about that. I need to watch that. That seemed funny. Mike asking, what do you have more hope for, Halloween Kills or Scream 5? Oof. Maybe Scream 5, just because that's an unknown quantity, and I feel like I know where David Gordon Green et al. Are heading with that Halloween series. Maybe. Dan pointing out, that's not his I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah, it turns out that the part of I almost said Jennifer Jason Leigh. What is the pretty girl with the big boobs? What was her name? Jennifer something, right? Hold on. You guys, I swear I'm not even on the dope. I just don't remember shit. That is Jennifer Love Hewitt. Sorry. JLH. How do I forget? Jennifer Love Hewitt. Yeah. So if they cast her, somebody's going to complain like, well, they got somebody who's only moderately buxom. That ain't my I Know What You Did Last Summer. This girl only has B cups. That's not what I came here for. Mike saying Day of the Paranormal Animals, Ghost Grizzly versus Ghost Leslie Nielsen. That's also quite good. That is also quite a good idea. Fighting over the love of a woman, as Leslie Nielsen is wont to do. Oh my goodness. Alan McPherson just keeps saying Gene Hackman needs to be in all these roles. I agree. I would love to see Popeye Doyle investigating this I Know What You Did Last Summer business. Okay. On Shudder in the next week, you got Nosferatu the Vampire, which is that Werner Herzog Nosferatu, which is really, really good. Then you've got a movie I've never seen called Nosferatu in Venice, which apparently uses some of that footage and makes a different movie, which I'm very curious about. It sounds terrible, but I kind of need to see it. Then Possum, which I know Duncan likes a lot. I haven't seen that yet. Wake Wood, which is I think that's sort of a witch kind of story, or a like, hey, we have made a wish for our dead kid to come back, and he does. Then on October 12th, you got a trifecta that I can fully support, which is House, starring William Catt, House 2, The Second Story, starring Arya Gross, and The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Now, which of those movies is better? You be the judge. I can watch all three of those. I probably prefer House to all of those, even though objectively The Autopsy of Jane Doe is probably a better made movie. But House and House 2, I have a lot of time for. I think we all know how I feel about Catter Puppies. That's House 2. And then, of course, House is a great William Catt film. And The Autopsy of Jane Doe is pretty creepy. Definitely worth your watch for this Halloween season. Somebody called it Weekend at Nosferatu's. That's pretty good. That Nosferatu in Venice. Nosferatu goes Hawaiian. Abraham Ram saying throw in a Wilford Brimley Force Ghost for good measure. I think you just get Wilford Brimley to voice, from Beyond the Grave, of course, voice the Grizzly. So you've got Wilford Brimley voicing the bear, including growls and roars, and Christopher Lambert, naturally, Andrew Prine, and I think that's the recipe. Gene Hackman as the fisherman in I Know What You Did Last Summer, also great casting. Jim saying Nosferatu in Venice is an interesting one. I feel like I need to see that. I might double feature that. Mike saying coming summer of 2022. I know what sequel you're planning for next summer. Well played, sir. Derek saying Nosferatu in Venice has 4 directors, including Luigi Cozzi and Klaus Kinski himself. How could that go right? Very exciting. And then finally, on the list of movies coming to your eyeball soon on Shudder, on October 15th, that's right, next Friday, is one of their exclusive films, a movie called The Medium, which has been playing at some festivals and whatnot. And Shudder continuing to do good work, like bring interesting and different movies. Like not all of them are winners, but you get a Timo Tiante, Satan Slaves in the mix and whatnot, some Joko Anwar business. I'm there for all of it. I think they do good work. Okay, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. Just a couple of quick notes. Like I said, you're going to have some business coming this week with Psycho 2 on Wednesday. Either in between there or shortly thereafter, you're going to get Heart of Horror. You're going to get the found footage full stuff. All that's coming this week. So stay tuned. And as I said, if you would, you'd be doing me a big favor to be sure you're subscribing to the podcast and be sure you share it around. Like if you're enjoying what you're hearing, please do so. And I hope you get a chance to come back next Sunday to do some more of this because I've had a great time. This has been a wonderful birthday present for all of you to be here present with me. And see what you miss on the audio version of this is the looks. As I'm weirdly proud. So let me tell you one thing that happened today in closing. So as I said, thank you for being here. We're going to wrap up. This will be the final story that I tell. So we're setting up our chicken wire ghost today in our little cemetery. And to do so, we have to basically connect the chicken wire ghosts because they're kind of light because they're made of chicken wire. They're kind of light, so you have to anchor them to the ground. And so what I did is I cut up some wire clothes hangers and made hooks, and then took some craft wire and connected those to our chicken wire ghosts, and we spray painted them green so that they kind of blend into the yard. In doing all of this, as I'm connecting the not chicken wire, but the craft wire to the lady, we've got a male and female ghost, and so I'm tying this to the midsection of the chicken wire ghost, and I say to Brandy, I says, hey, it looks like I'm a ghost doctor working on her booterus. That's right. I made a uterus pun with boo. So that is it for this Sinister Sunday. If you're listening to us in podcast form, it is, of course, the Morbid Monday. Please come by the Facebook group. Just if you're still on the Facebook, just look for the Dark Parade on Facebook, and there's always some minor conversation kind of happening in there, and you'll see notices when this video goes live. Spoilers, this video is going to be 6 o'clock Eastern time on Sundays until something happens that I can't do it on a particular Sunday, and then we'll do it on a Friday or something. So Alan saying no wire hangers in the booterus. I get it, but with these restrictive laws these days, Alan, what's a boobortion doctor to do? God, these jokes are terrible. I apologize, but it's my birthday. Go to hell. That's also a t-shirt I'm gonna get. It's my birthday. Go to hell. All right, guys, thank you yet again. Thanks for joining me. This has been a tremendous amount of fun. I hope you have time next week to come back and do it all over again. And that's it. I'll definitely see you next time. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. Beware the lamb bear.